Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we are talking about a movie that launched an unforeseen amount of beginners pottery classes. Today we are talking about 1990's Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, and Whoopi Goldberg. I will warn you, there will be spoilers in this, and I also have to say this because maybe this adds a little bit of bias for me. I wouldn't say much bias because I was going to talk no matter what happens, I was going to talk about what I thought about this movie. The song Unchained Melody is my parents' song, so that adds maybe just the tiniest bit of bias for me. But that being said, while it is a big part of this movie, there's so much more going on in this movie that I have to look at. So, I just had to throw that out there that there might be just the tiniest bit of bias. So, that being said, there's going to be spoilers in this review. I mean, come on, the movie came out in 1990. So, I'll just say this. If you don't want it spoiled, this movie is actually a lot of fun and worth checking out. I know a lot of people really just remember the Unchained Melody and the pottery scene. And what's funny is I hadn't watched this in a long time. I don't even remember the last time I watched this. And I know I'd seen it before, but I didn't remember a ton about it. And it's funny how really short of a scene that is. I mean, yes, it leads to our main characters getting together, so to speak. But really, the scene is really what a lot of people have parodied. I mean, there's so many parodies. I remember, I think it was Naked. Yeah, it was Naked Gun 2.5 that parodied that scene as well. That's probably the big one I remember, and I know it's been done other times before. The rest of the movie doesn't get a lot of recognition, I don't think. So because a lot of people just kind of like to laugh and talk about that scene. So it's the movie is, in my opinion, if you don't want anything spoiled, the movie's better than that. The movie has some fun elements. It also has some serious elements. I don't think it really takes itself too seriously, but I think that it takes itself serious enough that when it counts, it matters. What this movie is about is Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. They are a couple. They're not married. And Patrick Swayze works with Tony Goldwyn's character, Carl. They work at a bank. And Patrick Swayze's character's kind of stressed out at work. He's afraid things aren't working out or whatever. Some things he's trying to work on aren't working out. But we also find out that later that there's some things that might happen at the bank that Patrick Swayze's character is not really aware of. One night when Swayze and Moore's characters are walking home, they are accosted by a man, Willie Lopez, who is trying to rob them. But this turns out to be a fatal mistake because Swayze ends up in a scuffle with him. And while we think Swayze's just chasing him down, we come to find out, we see Swayze is also laying on the ground and he's been shot. So he is a ghost now. And he goes to the hospital basically to watch them try to save his life. And this is where he starts to meet other ghosts. And this is a theme that will go along with the movie, is he has to learn how to do things through different ghosts. First, this old man ghost who's waiting for his wife to pass so they can move on to heaven. He's just like, okay, here's some basics. And then later he talks to a ghost on the subway who teaches him how to move things. And then he technically doesn't learn it, but he sees that also you can possess people as a ghost. So as the movie goes along, he learns different things about being a ghost. But he's trying to find a way to communicate with his ex-girlfriend because, when I say ex-girlfriend, I mean he's dead, not that they broke up. Um, and so he's trying to communicate with Demi Moore's character, and because it comes to find out that his buddy Carl is trying to steal $4 million from the bank, and he's trying to give it to criminals because he owes them money. And he's working together with Willie Lopez, the guy that shot Swayze's character. So Swayze's character goes to a psychic, which is Whoopi Goldberg's character, Oda Mae Brown, and she can actually hear him, even though she is a lifelong criminal of fraud. But she can actually hear him, and it turns out she has the gift. And throughout the movie, she tries to help him different ways, reluctantly mostly. But they have to basically try to stop Carl, his former friend, and the criminal Willie Lopez from hurting Demi Moore's character, Molly, and also getting this money. And that's the basic setup of the movie. And as I mentioned before, I could not remember a lot of this. Of course, you remember the pottery scene, but I couldn't. I remembered little bits and pieces. I remember him, who he learned to move things from, and things like that. But I really forgot just how entertaining this movie is. Is it cheesy a lot of the times? Yes, it is. But I forgot how just fun and entertaining this is, and sometimes a little sad. There are some scenes where he's trying to talk to Molly through Oda Mae Brown, and he's not saying the right things, and he has to. It's almost a detective story where you can't see the detective, right? Because Sam Wheat, that's Patrick Swayze's character, he has to. He can go anywhere he wants, but he still, if a door's not open, he has to figure out how to go through a door and things like that. And he also he follows these people around, and he's piecing together the story because they can't see him, right? So he's trying to piece together what happened. First, he follows Willie Lopez, and they try to get him arrested, but it comes to find, he'll follow him around for a while, and he comes to find out he's working with his former friend to try to steal this money. So he enlists Oda Mae Brown to help him screw Carl out of the money. So there's just a lot of fun elements and a lot of fun plot points going on in this movie, and I forgot just how much fun this movie was. The acting's really good. Oda Mae Brown and Sam Wheat as characters have a good chemistry, which of course means Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg have good chemistry. Demi Moore is solid as Molly. And then Rick Aviles, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, is Willie Lopez. He's creepy like he's supposed to be. And Tony Goldwyn as Carl Bruner is there's scenes where it's like, this guy is supposed to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, and also a douchebag, and he's both really well. There's a scene where he's trying to, it's almost kind of creepy because he's trying to hit on Molly with Sam just sitting right there, and he's like, oh, I spilled coffee on my shirt, whatever should I do? And he takes it off and he tries to get with her, and it's creepy and gross. But so yeah, the characters play their part well. Stephen Root, he has a bit part in this where he plays a detective. I would have liked more of him. He's just there to put doubt in the character of Molly's mind, because he's the one that shows her that Oda Mae Brown is like a career criminal. So the acting's really good where it counts. The story's a lot of fun. I will say the movie's a little inconsistent with what ghosts can and can't do. It's funny because they don't have a problem with floors or sitting in chairs, but they have to work to go through doors. Or if they can, it's funny, he can't move stuff, but he can't go through it. It's just kind of inconsistent with its ghost rules. But again, I was having a good time watching it, so why not? The movie moves at a good pace, and you're enjoying the ride, so you kind of just let go of the movie not sticking to its own logic or not even explaining a lot of its own logic. As I mentioned before, it has the song Unchained Melody, which I like that song anyway, and it is my parents' song, so there's a plus right there. My mom likes this movie a lot, because of that song, so I know she likes the movie anyway, but I think that having that song in it really helps. One thing I will say, I did like the ending of this movie, but I think they should have changed it a little bit. And there might be, I don't know, I haven't looked into it. There might be an alternate ending for this movie, but I think honestly, and what they do works fine. See, spoilers here. In the end, Sam. See, we learn there is a heaven and hell in this. Near the beginning, Sam is offered a chance to go to heaven. You see the light come down and everything, and we see later with Willie and Carl that hell is a thing. It's kind of cheesy what happens, but I like it anyway. These shadowy figures like drag them off to hell. It's awesome. But we learn that heaven is a thing, and at the end of the movie, Sam again, after they stop Carl, is offered his chance to go to heaven. And I really think the movie would have worked a little better had they had the character of Molly killed and got to go to heaven with him. Because now she's still, though she gets to see him at the end and they get to say their final goodbyes and everything, she's just kind of left in this world alone, and it would have been probably a better love story if something would have happened to her at the end of the movie. He would have seen her on the ground, hurt, and thinking she's just hurt, and he goes to see her, and all of a sudden she walks up behind him, and it's time to go. I don't know. I just think that probably would have more of a solid ending, but the ending they do is still kind of sweet. They have this cute thing about saying I love you, which granted isn't cute for Molly at first because because Sam never says I love you, he says ditto. She'll say I love you, he says ditto, and he finally says I love you to her, and she pulls a Han Solo and is just like ditto, which it's funny and fun and it's sweet. And look, again, this movie, is it perfect? No. Does it stick to any real logic in the end? No. Is it a fun movie? Is it a sweet movie? Yes. Yes, it is. This movie is so much more than the pottery scene, which, again, didn't last as long as I remembered. I remembered it being more gratuitous. And, again, yes, it leads to a sex scene. But, I think, of course, I was thinking of the Naked Gun version, which gets weird. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I remember it getting weird. But, yeah, the movie is so much more than that. It's a lot of fun, and I do recommend it. Until next time, see you later.